Let's talk about it. This shit is fucking that shit. Let's go. Come on, man. Shout out to X, my man. The hardest shit. You know me. This shit is the joint. Destructor. Let's go. Hey. Every time let's go. Okay. Enough of that for a second. Let's talk about the Prodigy, man. I miss these days. Oof. Every now and then I come back to this album. This is actually one of my favorite albums ever. Real talk. In a long list of obviously great albums, great things that I've heard in my life. This shit, I'm trying to remember how I heard this because it's a little bit murky. I heard it in real time. I want to say Smack My Bitch Up came out and I thought it was cool. I wasn't like crazy about it, but I think it was this. I think I heard Breathe in like a commercial or something, and I was like, okay, what am I? King, all that shit, and I was like, what is this shit? Then I think I saw the video. Anyway, the point is, I bought this shit on tape. It was either me or my dad. I don't remember. It was probably me though, because I don't know if it was something that my dad would like automatically be like, yo, let's buy this. But anyways, I bought this shit on tape, and it never left our car. I remember like my dad and I and the family, we would go on excursions and stuff while we're in Saudi, visit sand dunes and the beach and all that kind of shit. And we always had this in the car, like for years, like a good 2 years. You know what I'm saying? Like we play this, with the Bob Marleys, MJs, all that shit. We would play this fucking joint. And my dad loved this shit. You know what I'm saying? I always thought it was really interesting. I look back on the stuff. My dad was probably, in his early 40s at the time, probably in his early 40s. You know what I'm saying? So he knew something new and crazy and creative, because I think creativity, when your shit is hot, it doesn't matter how old you are, dude. I mean, people say, oh, you too old. Nah, man. It's about creativity. If you have an ear for creative shit, it doesn't matter how old you are, okay? Stop it, okay? But yeah, I love this shit. And in hindsight, obviously, they have the Wu-tang, the Mystery of Chess Boxing sample in there that's prominent through it, which, again, it's like a couple of things. One, when I see conversations online sometimes about, oh, Wu-tang overrated, I remember used to see this stuff back in the day in forums. Oh, Wu-Tang's overrated. They're only put on a pedestal because of East Coast media. We have Southern rap acts that are better than Wu-Tang, but y'all didn't give them no credit. Get the fuck out of here, okay? They were not as innovative as Wu-Tang. Stop it, okay? Your Southern rap act, your local, what's that Master Killer line that I posted the other day, Your style is too local to fuck with this, okay? It's real talk. Wu-Tang inspired countless people outside of New York City, in worldwide and shit. These guys in the UK are like, yo, this fucking Wu-Tang shit is crazy. Again, this is why we talk about Wu-Tang being incredible, because they were creative as fuck. Their shit was hard, it was edgy, it was dope. You know what I'm saying? A lot of your Southern rap acts were not. Let's be honest here, okay? You can't force these things. So that's number one. The other thing I want to say that I think is really interesting, by the way, is that, again, when we talk about influences, I don't like this, oh, I'm influenced by this and that, and I don't hear it in the music. To me, that is fake, that is corny, okay? Prodigy are clearly influenced by hip-hop. You can tell, because when you listen to their music, it has hip-hop samples all over the shit. From the beats themselves to some of the little sound effects. They got tracks with Kool, Keith, real rap shit. Not corny, mainstream pop music. These guys are clearly hip-hop heads, and they went and took it in a different direction, as you're supposed to, and I love that. They took techno, rave, and all that other shit, and they put it together, right? It's in the fucking music. So when you tell me you're a Wu-Tang fan, like Prodigy or Liam Howlett, who did the beat, shout out to him, when he's like, I'm a Wu-Tang fan, I believe you, because I hear the Mystery of Chess Boxing sample in that shit, and it's dope, the way you put it together. You know what I'm saying? When when Ice Spice comes out and says, I actually am a big, Wu-Tang fan, I don't believe you because I don't hear anything about Wu-Tang in your music. You know what I'm saying? Like, this is the whole point. This is why I don't listen to all these fake influences and shit like that. When your boy Kendrick says he's a Tupac fan, I don't believe you. I don't hear that shit. You know what I'm saying? Or let's say he comes out and like, oh, I'm a big Busta Rhymes fan. It's not in your music, dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not there. You're actually a big Eminem, Lil Wayne fan. Okay? That's in your fucking music. And this is what I'm trying to say. Again, enough with the fake accolades, man. Accolades don't mean shit. Okay? All this stuff is forced. Like, this album, Fat of the Land, is a real classic. It's not a forced classic, okay? We're in the era now where it's all about these forced classics, and it drives me fucking insane. Because nobody's really coming with that shit. I remember when this came out, dude. It was like, just, again, it's not even a genre that I listen to like that. You know what I'm saying? I wasn't into techno or any of that stuff, but when this came out, it was like, I gotta fucking buy this tape. I gotta listen to shit, and everything on this is fire. One of my favorite songs on here, obviously Breathe, I would probably say is maybe my number one song. But I love Diesel Power. Serial Thriller I loved. Obviously I played some. Minefield is crazy. Narayan is crazy. Climbatize is crazy. This is a real classic, man. Like, what's interesting, actually, now that I think about this is, I know people have been asking me to do a Kool Keith video. At some point I would do one. But this is actually one of the first times I heard Kool Keith. I didn't know it was Kool Keith. I just liked it. And actually this is my father's favorite song on this entire album because my dad used to really like, he's like, Diesel Power, like, my dad used to kind of like rap along with Kool Keith and shit. It's just funny. Like, I look back on all this shit, like hip hop was always around me, but it's only years later where you start to put it all together. You're like, oh yeah, I was listening to Kool Keith back then and all that shit. But this is classic, Diesel Power. Anyway, classic shit, man. And I was listening to this yesterday. It was like fueling my writing. I was working on some stuff. Blood World shit is still happening, by the way. And I was saying to myself, like, man, like, where is the edgy shit? Because this is really me at my core. You know what I'm saying? Like, I like hard, edgy shit. I always have, even when I was young. I like stuff that's like, that doesn't pander. You know what I'm saying? I was like that as a kid. I didn't like stuff that was kiddish to me. You know what I'm saying? As a kid, I didn't like stuff where I was like, oh, like, here you go, little kid, listen to this because you're a child. It was like, nah, I was always that kind of person that I wanted to know more. I was curious about things. You know what I'm saying? I wanted to listen to what was dope. I wanted to watch what was actually dope. You know what I'm saying? And so I realize I'm not like, most people are not like that. Most people are kind of, they stay in their lane. That's fine, whatever. But my point is that I think at least every now and then, there was stuff that genuinely came out. I mean, think about the 90s. This is why we talk about the 90s being so great. There was so much cool shit that was coming out. Stuff that was legit like, yo, I've never heard something like this before. And I love it. You know what I'm saying? Like, you talk about Wu-Tang. You know what I'm saying? Like, just doing some wild shit. This shit, just some wild shit. I mean, I remember hearing Nirvana. I'm not a huge, like, rock dude like that necessarily. I'm not a Nirvana head like that. But again, they were different. They came out the gate with something that was unique. And I think this is, again, my problem with modern day. This modern day shit is so fucking weak. It's like, all we have now is stuff that's, like, super processed, built for the algorithm, right? Like, literally, like, synthetic, very, very, like, bland, doesn't want to offend anyone's taste. And obviously it's trash because if you're not trying to do anything that's going to spur the imagination, it's going to be weak, okay? So that's number one. It's either like super processed, bland, digestible for everyone, non-threatening, or it's this fake Fox edgy shit, pretend edgy. Everything, everywhere, all at once, but it's really just the same formulaic pandering shit. You're just doing, oh, you know what? Like, I can throw all this shit in the blender and seem edgy. Whereas, like, in the grand scheme of things, my thoughts are actually really basic. And they're just as bland and basic as all the formulaic shit. This is where we're stuck in. We're in this rut, and it bothers me, man. As a creative, it just bothers me. And that's why I'm telling you, man, Blood World, like, when I can put that shit out, or something about, like, Blood World, when it comes out, and it's gonna come out, hopefully by the end of this year, something. You know, I'll tell y'all a little bit more about that as the months go by. You guys are gonna fucking see it. You're gonna be like, yo, this is why Tochi was so mad. You know what I'm saying? Because he's on some other shit. I'm on some other shit, dude. Like, to me, if you're not doing anything edgy, I don't give a fuck. Honestly. You know what I'm saying? I really don't care. And like, I'm that kind of person. I like edgy shit. Edgy shit of the past, edgy shit of the present. And I know it when I hear it. Which is why I'm first to tell you about ASAP and Pop Smoke and Playboi Carti. These guys do edgy shit. Lil B, they do genuinely edgy shit. But edgy in a beautiful way. They take ideas and they mix them and it's seamless and just dope. You know what I'm saying? So to me, that's the real art. Like, all this other stuff is kind of like, okay, it's cool. You know, it's background music, whatever. But again, where's the stuff that like, just, you hear it, you see it, and you're like, wow. You know what I'm saying? This person clearly thought about this and wanted to make something that blows me away emotionally, intellectually, like really, really give it some fucking thought. And when I heard this type of shit, it was like, you know, think about it. Like, this came out, what, 97? And then The Matrix came out in like 99, and this was like Matrix music to me. You know what I'm saying? The Matrix almost kind of gave music like this a certain form. You know what I'm saying? But again, that's that era. That was the era where people were like, yo, let's come out with some really cool, creative shit. You know what I'm saying? That's why, like, we don't have stuff like The Matrix anymore because we live in this era where shit is so fucking flaccid, and I'm tired of it, man. Anyway, you know, part of my anger, but it's righteous anger, you know what I'm saying? Furious anger. Shout out to Big L, right? And Shaheem, of course. But anyway, if you haven't heard this album, give it your listen, man, because this stuff is crazy, honestly. This is like literally one of my favorite albums. It's great to write to, or just kind of having the background where you're doing something like you want to expand your mind, do something creative, you know what I mean? Climbatize. And, you know, RIP to Keith Flint, man. It was sad that he passed, you know. So is life, man. Artists are dealing with all kinds of stuff, you know. But they left something powerful, you know. The last thing I want to say about this album real quick is that, you know, I've listened to some of the Prodigy stuff before this album. And, like, the music for Jilted Generation and stuff. I like some of those songs, like Voodoo People, like Pendulum Remix. I like some of those songs. But to me, this is their best shit. And the reason for me, personally, is I feel like this is when all those ideas really came together. I also think it's because this is the most kind of hip-hop sounding of the bunch that they did, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I like what they did. The other stuff was dark and cool and all that stuff, but to me, this is really when they figured it out. You know what I'm saying? Like, the beats were rocking, like, you know? Look at that. I could just bop, like, it's less techno-y and it's a little bit more in the hip-hop vein. You know what I'm saying? Even though it's its own thing. I'm not saying it's exactly 100% hip-hop. It is its own thing. But, yeah. And I think that this is the great thing about those days, man, is that stuff could just come out. Stuff like this that was just different. Come out, blow buildings. I mean, these guys sold a gang units, I'm sure. And let's not even talk about bootlegs and all that shit. People copying tapes and giving it to, like, this shit was like legit huge. You know what I'm saying? So anyway, shout out to them, man. Much love to Prodigy, the whole band. And like I said, get on this, man. Because if you haven't heard Fat of the Land, you gotta do yourself a favor and hear this shit. And again, you're gonna hear some of their stuff. Like, people still love to, you know, borrow from them. Ferg did a record. I can't remember the name of the record, but it was recent. It was the one where Ferg was in the street. He was like on a bike or some shit. I'm gonna try to see if I can find this and look it up. But he was Floor Seats. That's a Prodigy sample, right? Because again, like, the edgy shit, it makes its way. Every generation, there's always people in that generation that are like, yo, I want to do something that's beautiful and fucking edgy. You know what I'm saying? ASAP Mob were those guys. This is why, again, I noticed this early and I fucked with them early. You know what I'm saying? I know Kendrick Lamar is not that guy. I know J. Cole. They're not those guys, okay? Like, ASAP Mob were those guys. You know what I'm saying? And of course, again, if they're inspired by Prodigy, I hear it in their music because the vibe is there. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, peace.